So what actually we will be doing today will be so basically today we will be starting up with our session which will be regarding the DLL hijacking. So the main thing which we'll be understanding today will be like basically this will be a two-part process. So basically in our today's session we'll be understanding all the basics regarding DLL hijacking, right? What actually is DLL, what how our system uses DLLs, and how DLL hijacking is performed, and what actually will be the impact for the same thing. In our next session, we'll be taking up the applications and we will understand how we can conduct the DLL hijacking within the applications. Okay. So the first thing is what actually are DLLs and what are the main usage of DLLs. So when it comes to DLLs, DLLs are called dynamic linked libraries. Right? What actually are these particular DLLs? Typically, whenever any application or even operating system requires a specific code to be reused multiple times. So at that point of time, DLL will be used. Okay. For example, there is one of the functionality which application or the operating system requires over and over again, right? Let's assume there is one of the application, right? And this is a thick client application, and now it requires one of the functionality. For example, it requires, there is a one functionality which is like read file functionality, right? It requires this functionality again and again because it utilizes that particular function. So what actually it will do, instead of taking up this function within the code and again writing it again and again, right? What actually it will do is it will create one of the DLL file which will be stored within the system, right? Which will be available within the bundle of the application which we will be downloading. Now, what will happen whenever we are going forward and executing that application? Whenever we are executing that particular function, it will go to that particular DLL, and basically it will execute the code from the DLL, and ultimately the result will be shown up here likewise. So this is what will be happening whenever there are this particular type of DLLs being used. Now, in case of this, instead of this application, if there is operating system will be doing the same things itself, right? It will be having multiple DLL files which can be used by the applications again and again. Now, what actually by doing this, what actually will be the advantage for the application or the developer, right? The main things which developers will be getting from here will be basically they will be required, or basically because of this particular implementation, the application will be using very less resources, right? So at that point of time, the application will not take much more RAM or system memory, right? Because of this particular thing. Instead of that, if that there are multiple codes, right? Or basically if there are the same code which is going forward and calling again and again, definitely it needs to take more memory to store that particular function and again execute it. Here there is a separate file which it needs to be just hold. So basically everything will be much more simpler and the application will be much more faster. Second thing will be it will be a modular approach. So basically here, instead of that particular read file, right, now there are multiple functionalities. There is read file and there is read folder, right? And these are both of the functionalities. Now, whenever it requires the folder, it will call the separate DLL file. Whenever it requires the file, it will call the separate DLL file. So application does not need to be loaded all that particular code within the CPU, right? So at that point of time, the RAM utilization, the system memory utilization will be very much less. Again, in case if there is new updates, they can just add a specific separate DLL file and that particular thing will be called. So again, at that point of time, the updates and adding those specific functionalities will be much more easier for them. Last thing will be basically it will be very much easy to deploy and install because all the DLL files will be available. Now, in case if there is one of the DLL file which is not found or which does not or basically which has been crashed, or which does not which is not in a proper manner, or which has some kind of errors. They do not need to execute or reinstall the full application, uninstall and reinstall the full application. They can just replace that particular DLL file and it is done, right? So basically, because of this many functionalities, this many advantages, application developers tend to use DLL files more, right, nowadays compared to the previous
आवाज
one.
कट हो रहा है आपका पूरा।
मेरा कट हो रहा है क्या? एक मिनट
हाँ
में फिर से स्क्रीन शेयर करता हूँ, अपना नेटवर्क एडेप्टर भी चेंज कर लेता हूँ, एक मिनट। शायद मेरे साइड से कोई इशू नहीं होगा। अच्छा कोई बात नहीं, अगर मेरा आवाज फिर से कट हो रहा है ना तो फिर मुझे बताना, मैं चेक करूंगा। वैसे अभी स्पीड तो अच्छी खासी है, देख लेंगे फिर। Okay, so what I was saying was basically because of this many functionalities, the first functionality or first advantage was usage of less resources, right? Basically, it does not require all those specific code to be loaded in the memory. It just needs to take up that particular DLL file and execute the specific DLL file for the functionality which we are utilizing. So basically, it will use very less resources like res memory, res RAM, all of those specific things. There will be the modular architecture. So at that point of time, if there is any kind of new updates or new functionalities which are being added, right? So basically that particular thing, it will just add the specific DLL file and the things will be done, right? So that those specific things will be there. Again, the installation and the troubleshooting will be very much easy. So at that point of time, if there is any particular DLL file or any functionality which is not working, they just need to check, or they just need to replace that DLL file, right? And that functionality will be working. They do not need to uninstall and reinstall the full program itself. So because of this many functionalities, right, and a very ease of installation, okay, basically the DLL files are being utilized by the developers. So now let us understand what actually are the types of DLL files. There are majorly two types of DLL files which are available.
गया, फिर से आवाज गया। मेरा तो आवाज क्लियर आ रहा है ना?
हाँ तुम्हारा तो क्लियर आ रहा है। एक बार अपने खुद से साइड से चेक करोगे क्या? यहाँ पे तो अच्छी खासी मतलब कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है। मेरे पास कोई दूसरा
अभी आ
नेटवर्क
रहा है आवाज आपका एकदम
अभी आ रहा
क्लियर।
है क्या?
जब बीच में ना 1 सेकंड 2 सेकंड ऐसा चला जाता है।
अच्छा 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 अच्छा, कोई बात नहीं, वो मुझे बोलना, मैं रिपीट कर दूँ। ओके, so majorly there are two types of DLL files. The first one will be system level DLL and second one will be application level DLL. Okay, system level DLLs are majorly used by operating system to provide the functionalities. Okay, provide the functionalities to DLL. So basically, basically at that point of time, it will go forward and it will give those specific functionalities to application via DLLs. For example, here we are utilizing Zoom application, right? So by executing the Zoom application, it requires many of the things. For example, if I just go forward and use the chat window, it requires my keyboard access, right? If whenever I am sharing my screen, it requires my monitor or system access. Whenever I'm recording, okay, and the recording is getting stored within the file, it requires the file access as well. So typically it requires many of the functionalities, and by default these functionalities are not given to the to that particular application or any application by default, right, while it is getting installed. So at that point of time, what will happen is basically whenever the application requires this kind of functionality, what will happen is it will call that particular DLL file, right? And basically it will first of all, like while accessing that particular DLL file, the operating system will give or will ask us that whether we want to provide this kind of functionality or not. Once we are confirming it, once we are approving it, then only operating system will give the access to that particular DLL file, and ultimately application will be able to access those specific things. So many times those kind of things will happen. For example, here I'm having microphone. If I unblock the microphone, or if I try to unmute, if we are doing it for first time, operating system will be giving us one pop-up that this application is asking for this permission, whether we want to approve that particular permission or not, right? If we are approving it, application will be able to access that particular DLL files, else it will not be able to access that particular DLL file, right? So basically those specific things will be available at that point of time. Now, whenever we are doing the DLL hijacking, we are not at all concerned regarding the system level DLLs. Okay, we will be concerned regarding the application level DLLs. Why exactly? Now, the similar kind of functionality will happen in application level DLLs as well. Application DLLs, what will happen is whenever we are downloading the bundle, right? For example, if I'm downloading Chrome, I can there we can download one type of file called MSI file, which can be installer file. Installer file, what it will do, it will download the bundle, right? Which will be containing all the configuration files, all the dependencies, right? All of those specific DLLs, or the executable file, all of those specific type of files it will be downloading. Now, whenever we are downloading those specific type of bundles, right, or that particular files, so at that point of time, the application level DLLs will also be downloaded, which will be utilized by the application. How this application DLL works, similarly how what we had discussed previously. So it will be having the specific functionalities, right? Basically that particular functions will be having specific files. Now here we are not saying that all the functionalities will be having different DLLs, right? Whatever are those specific functions which application developers want to make it modular and want to make it much more faster, those specific functions we might be seeing. We might see one or two particular DLLs, we might be seeing 10 DLLs. Okay, it is totally based upon the application, how much DLLs are available within the application. So typically there will be the application level DLLs, and whenever we are executing that particular functionality within the application, which is responsible where the code is available within the DLL, so that particular DLL will be executed. Likewise, so whenever we are doing our DLL hijacking, the specific application level DLLs, right, that will be called. So, and basically that particular DLLs will be executed by the application itself. So how actually DLL will be taken up by the application, and what exactly will be the process of it, and what is the root cause of this particular vulnerability? So typically, whenever there is application which is loading the DLL, right? For example, if we take
आवाज
this,
नहीं आ रहा है।
अरे आज क्या हो रहा है? एक बार
टिपिकली से
एक मिनट आज क्या हो रहा है? एक बार नेटवर्क चेंज कर सकते हो क्या तुम्हारा?
मेरा ठीक है, चेक किया
ठीक है
मैंने।
क्या? अच्छा अच्छा, ओके. So when it comes to the application, what happens is how application, so whenever it is loading the DLL files, what will be the process of DLL, right? What actually will be the process of the same? So that is what we will be understanding. So let's assume that we want to have the same example. Let's assume that there is the similar example, that there is one of the functionality which is read file within our thick client application, and it is calling that DLL file to complete that particular functionality. So in this scenario, what will be the process which will be happening in backend? Why we are understanding this one? Because at that point of time, if we are understanding what actually are the things which are going on in the backend, we will be able to understand how we can find that particular vulnerability and how we can exploit the vulnerability as well. So the process will be going on something like this one. Whenever application is searching for that particular DLL, okay, the application will be going forward, and basically this will be the system level DLLs which will be already known by the operating system, and it will be already loaded by the operating system once the user confirms it. But whenever application level DLLs are taken up, the first place where it will be searching will be something, the system directory. System directory will be always in Windows, C, Windows and System32. So first place where it will be searching the DLLs will be in this place. Let us go forward and see the same. So it will be in C, Windows and System32. This is the place where all of those system level DLLs will be by default stored. So basically, let us go to that place. So it will be in the C, and we will go to Windows, and this is the place. Let us go to System32, and this is the place where all the DLLs will be stored. So these are not the application level DLLs. These are the operating system level DLLs. Let me just magnify it, and we will see. So you can see these are the operating system level DLLs. All these DLLs will be there, right? So the first place where always application will go ahead and search will be the system directory, which will be under C, Windows, System32. If that DLL is found, okay, this will be the first DLL which it will be giving the priority to. So if that particular DLL is found, then it will directly execute it. But now if that particular DLL is not available in System32, then it will go to this C, Windows and System, which is 16-bit system directory, and there it will check. So at that point of time, where exactly it will be available, let us go ahead and check. So it will be in this place. So let us just go into that 16-bit system directory. So it will be in C, it will be in Windows and System, not in the 32. So C, Windows, and it will be in the System. So this one. So if it is not found, so basically here it will go ahead and check if that particular DLL is available or not. Okay. Then if it is not found, again it will go to the C and Windows directory, and at last it will be in the correct directory. Or lastly, basically it will be in the path. So basically what will happen is, in the same example, if we take, all those DLLs which are being loaded, either it will be from the operating system base or in the normal base, it will be going through the same specific hierarchy itself. Okay. In the same example, if we want to check for the read file.dll, right, which application has developed, it will not directly go to the read file or those kind of things. It will be following the same order. So at that point of time, firstly, it will go to the system directory. Then definitely it is not going to find that particular thing, right? So then it will go to the system directory, then Windows, and then in the current directory where that particular application has been executed. Likewise, if it is not finding that particular directory or that particular file in any of the directories, then it will throw you the error that, okay, this particular DLL has not been available and and those specific things like that, right? But now if it is finding in that particular place, for example, it has found that DLL in the first place itself, okay, and the same DLL, same name DLL is available in the second place, it will give the more priority in the first. So basically it will, whatever is found in whichever directory it is found first, basically it will just go ahead and it will execute that particular DLL. Likewise, this is the main thing, right? So in case if you are going attending any of the interviews which is having the specific role of the client application, they are definitely going to ask you one or two questions regarding DLL hijacking, and they will definitely ask you the DLL search order as well. Why exactly? That is what we are understanding in a bit. Now, why exactly we have understood this search order, right? Because what will happen is, what if we are going to go forward and what if we replace that particular DLL file with the malicious code of the DLL which we are having? So for example, we are knowing currently that, okay, this application will be searching into various places, right? So basically where actually it will be searching, the first one will be within the system32 folder. Then the second one will be within the system folder. Then it will check for the specific Windows folder. Then it will check in the current folder. Now, in this case, we are knowing that this is the order. In the first place, it will get not found, right? Because anyhow, it is in the last folder, right? So basically here it will be able to find that particular DLL file and it will execute it. But typically in the first three places it will not be found, and we know that this is how the priority is. If it is finding in the first place, definitely it will not go to rest of the places. If it is finding the second place, it will not go to the rest of the places. So what as a DLL hijacking we will be doing here? What we are going to do is, what if we keep the DLL and we know that, okay, this application is finding, or this application is checking for the file called read file.dll, and this is the places where it is finding, and we know that this is the priority which it is keeping. So what if we keep one of the DLL file with the same name which it is looking for, and basically it contains all the malicious code which is available, right? Basically it contains the malicious code where we can take over the system itself, right, where we can install some kind of malwares and so and so, and that particular malicious file we keep it into the place where it is looking for. So at that point of time, now what happens is,
विंडोज का एक्सप्लेन करोगे क्या, क्योंकि आवाज बीच में कट हुआ था.
हाँ हाँ हाँ, यहाँ से करना है ना. So what happens is, what if we keep that particular DLL file into the place where it is looking for? So we know that, okay, this is the priority which that particular application is looking. So instead of, and we know that if it is finding into the upper hierarchy, it will not go ahead and look for the other places, right? And this is the places where it will be looking for. So at that point of time, what if we take a malicious DLL file, right? We rename it into the same name which it is looking for, and we keep into the place where it is looking for. So for example, previously it is looking for within the Windows directory. So we keep the same name of DLL file which it is looking for in that particular place where it is searching. At that point of time, as per the application hierarchy, if it is finding the same file here, it will directly take up the code of the DLL file and it will directly execute it. Okay, so at that point of time, it will not even go to the current directory and it will search for the legitimate file, because it has found the specific file, it will directly execute it. So basically, this is what we can call it as an DLL hijacking, right? We need to identify where application is looking for the DLL files, what is the name of the DLL file it is looking for, and that particular place we will be putting our malicious DLL file, and we will see that whether it is executing our malicious DLL file, or it is looking for the main original one, right? So this is what we can call it as an DLL hijacking. So now that we had understood what actually DLL hijacking is, let us understand what will be the impact for the same. So what happens is, whenever we will be having that particular DLL hijacking, typically we can execute any type of malicious code which is available. For example, if I am the attacker, what I will try to do is I will take up Metasploit, right? I will go forward and I will prepare a reversal. I will execute the file as a DLL file, and what I will do is I will be able to go forward and take the reversal of the system. I can also download the malwares. I can infect the machine with the malwares, right? All those things can be possible. What the main real-time scenario which we have is, many times you guys might be downloading, or you might be downloading the torrent files, right? From where you might be seeing some kind of movies or any kind of videos or music files and those kind of things from the torrent, right? Now, at that point of time, many times what we might have seen is they will be coming with some kind of bundle of the application, right? Where the file is there, where there is one another file, which is something like DLL file and those kind of things. Now, older version of VLC media player, right, was vulnerable with this DLL hijacking. So what attackers used to do, they were just creating one of this kind of torrent files. Okay, they will send us the file along with the DLL files, and what will happen is that whenever we are loading VLC, it will look for that particular DLL file, and that DLL file will be malicious, and basically at that point of time the system will be infected, right? So basically the attacker will be having the full remote control of that particular system itself. So this is how the real-time scenario will be, and that is the main reason why this is very much critical. So let us just revise it a bit, and then basically in our next session we will understand how we will be able to go forward and exploit this DLL hijacking as well within the application as well. First of all, what actually are DLLs? DLLs are the specific code which can be reused. What are the advantages of it? Basically, it will be having very much less memory usage. It will take very much less disk. It will allow the application to load the functionalities faster, right? Because the applications will be executing the specific DLLs for the specific functionalities, and basically the DLLs will be cross functional. So if any other application wants to execute the same functionality, they can do as well, right? So basically within very less resources, the application will be very much faster, application code will be less, it will take very less memory and the system disk as well. So there are multiple advantages of using DLLs or dynamic link libraries. So because of that reason, basically application developers will be using DLLs on a heavy basis. Now there will be two types of DLLs, system level DLLs and application level DLLs. System level DLLs will be used by the application to access the specific functionalities, right? Basically to access the camera, microphone, keyboard, any kind of system level permissions like creating the folder, deleting the folder, creating the file, deleting the file, all of those kind of things. Whenever we are doing the DLL hijacking, we are not at all focusing on the system level DLLs, because at that point of time, this kind of DLLs will be in the secure place. So we don't want to go forward and see that. And they are typically in the first place itself, right? So basically we will not be having any kind of permissions to modify or change the same. We will be majorly focusing on this particular place, which is application level DLLs, which will be coming by default with the bundle of the application. or it might get extracted out during the installation. So at that point of time, because of the hierarchy which application will be taking up, whenever it is loading any kind of DLL, this is the hierarchy where it will be searching for. So the first thing will be, it will be searching in the system32, then system folder, then Windows folder, and then the current directory where the application is loaded. Basically, this is the hierarchy where it will be searching for, and it will be loading those DLLs if it is finding in the first place. So for example, if it is have found in the first place itself, it will load. It will not think of rest of the places. If it has not found in the first directory, it will go to the second directory. If it is finding there, it will load it. It will not check for the rest of the directories. If it is finding in the third place, it will just load it. It will not check for the rest of the place. If it is finding in the fourth place, means it will load it. Otherwise, it will throw an error to you that okay, this DLL is not actually available in the system itself. So there should be some kind of troubleshooting, or you might need to download the DLL or those kind of things. So we will be taking advantage of this particular thing because we know that okay, it is looking into this and this is the priority which it is giving, right? And we will be knowing that, okay, basically all the DLLs, application level DLLs will be available only in the current directory itself. At that point of time, what we will do is we will go forward and we will check what all are the DLLs which are not available. We will go to that particular DLL and basically we will execute. So basically at that point of time, we will execute the same thing, right? So we will take that malicious here and we will put it into that particular place. Like, so basically this is the where we will be utilizing that particular prioritization, and we will keep that particular place. So we will make sure that okay, it is looking into this particular directory. What we will do is we will just keep our malicious DLL into that particular place, and what we will check is whether it is executing our malicious DLL or not. And based on that, if it is executing, the malicious code which we have implanted into that DLL will be executed by the application. The impact will be, it might take up the system, our particular system. It might full infect the system. We can execute any code which we want within the system, and that particular code will be executed. So this is how we will be able to go forward and check for the DLL hijacking. This was the theoretical part. Now, what we will be checking is, in our next session, we will go forward and we will take up one of the application. We will understand how that particular DLLs we can take up, how we can identify where exactly it is looking for, and then we will understand where we need to keep and how we can check for the DLL hijacking within the live applications as well. Any doubts, any queries in this one?
नहीं.
Okay. So today was only the theoretical part, right? Basically, we will take up the application and we will see it in our next session, right? So basically there we will first of all revise this part because I know there was some kind of voice issue or network issue, right? So we will again revise this particular full part, and then we will go forward and we will see how we can do this particular DLL hijacking as well. Okay.
ठीक.